Hi there, and welcome to Effect House. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to use the head tracker to attach a 3D object to a user's head or face. And we'll also learn how to set up the PBR material to add color and texture to 3D objects. Head tracking is a powerful and popular function that lets creators add 3D objects like hats or sunglasses to a user's head. Today, we're going to use head tracking to create an alien hat that's out of this world. We'll cover adding a head tracker, tracking a 3D model, adding a PBR material to a model, and assigning colors and textures. Before we get started, download the Head Tracker tutorial package linked below. This package contains two projects. One is a complete model for reference, and the other is an unfinished model for practice. Let's open the project labeled Unfinished Head Tracker in Effect House. First, let's take a look at the Effect House interface. You'll notice there are 5 main panels. The hierarchy in the top left shows your layers of effects, objects, and entities. Below the hierarchy is the Assets panel, a filing system for all your imported assets. In the center, you'll see the Scene, a virtual workspace reflecting your effect. Next to that on the right is the Preview panel, showing how your effect will work in practice. And finally on the far right, you'll see the Inspector, where you see the components and property settings of each individual entity. Once you've opened the unfinished head tracker file in Effect House, you'll see all the assets we'll need can be found in the Assets panel, including the alien hat 3D object and all the texture images. To get started, let's first add a head tracker to the hierarchy. Do this by simply clicking Add Object, selecting AR Tracking, and then select Head Tracker. Now we've added a head tracker to the Scene hierarchy. By default, it actually contains 2 entities, a head tracker and a virtual head. If you click on Head Tracker in the Inspector, you'll see the face tracker assigned to it, and that is the key component to make all attached objects follow the head. The head is a virtual and invisible head-shaped mesh with an occluder material. The occluder material allows us to mask other 3D objects in a scene. For instance, if a hat model wraps around the head, we can occlude the back of the hat so it appears to be sharing the same 3D space as the user's head. Now that we have our head tracker set up, let's import our alien hat model. Find the file labeled Alien Hat in the Assets panel and drag it into the Hierarchy panel. Be sure to parent the hat object underneath the head tracker. In the preview window, you'll now see that the hat is following the head's movement. Adding the alien hat model to the scene also adds joints and built-in animations, so don't be startled when the alien hat starts to move. If we expand the alien hat entity in the hierarchy and select the skeleton and render root object, the animation component will appear in the Inspector. In this component, we can choose different animation clips for our model by making a selection from the Playback drop-down menu. Now it's time to add material to give our hat some color and texture. Go back down to Add Asset, choose Material, and select Standard PBR. This creates a default material that we can add our custom textures to, and will respond to environmental lighting within the scene. We can rename the material by right-clicking the standard PBR material, choosing Rename, and typing AlienHat_MAT. Using clear naming conventions will help keep our assets and structures organized, especially when building larger-scale projects. Now we're ready to put the material on our model. Check out the different parts of the alien hat model in the hierarchy. We need to apply our material to each of these pieces. Start by selecting the hat base entity from the hierarchy, and then look at the Inspector to find the model component. The material parameter is currently set to default. Click Default and select our new alien hat material from the pop-up Assets window. Take a moment and repeat this step assigning the material to each of the pieces of the alien hat model. Don't be concerned if your model doesn't look any different after you add material. That comes from adding textures. So let's add some textures and give this model some character. Navigate to the Material folder in the Assets panel and click on AlienHat_MAT to view its properties in the Inspector on the far right. In the Inspector, we'll apply the base color texture to the albedo section, the normal texture to the normal section, and the MRAO texture to the MRAO section. In the albedo section, click the checkbox next to Texture On and this will bring up an option to add a texture file. Select the file labeled Alien Hat Base Color from the pop-up window. Now repeat this step for assigning the normal and MRAO textures. When finished, your material properties should look like this. Now click Restart to refresh the preview, and we can see that the base hat has the correct material in the scene and preview. If you've made it this far, hats off to you! To create your own head tracking effects, just follow this tutorial and replace the models and textures with your own incredible creations. We can't wait to see what you make. Check out the Effect House website for more tutorials and resources. See ya in Effect House!